Today, I'll be going over some G.I. Joe classified figures that I found at Ross. But with that said, let's jump right into it. Starting off, we'll be taking a look at Sergeant Stalker. So I just want to get it off the bat that I think this was a really awesome find, but also a really weird find at the same time because in my opinion, this figure is pretty great. So I was surprised to see him at Ross, especially with the amount of accessories he comes with. He comes with a pistol and a silencer, and he even comes with compartments for both of them to be stored. He even comes with a knife with the knife holster, and he even comes with two primary weapons. You can see here that he comes with the LMG, and the magazine is removable as well, or the box mag. And I do like the fact that Hasbro painted the bullet belt here gold. I think it looks really nice. And he also comes with a backpack piece to store his SMG or AR here. And there's even a removable magazine here that you can actually store on the backpack piece. I really like that. Another thing is that he has his beret here that can be removed. And also he comes with this little neck wrap or almost like sniper hood piece that is also removable as well. So in general, I think this is a great figure, and if you find him at a Ross, I say pick him up. And if you're really interested in it, you could pick up a couple of them and maybe swap parts out to make more soldiers and army build them. Because this figure has a lot of different display options, and like I said before, I was really surprised to see him at Ross. Up next, we have the Tiger Force Outback. Starting off with the head sculpt, you can see that they sculpted some wrinkles onto his cheekbones here, and I think it looks really good. Furthermore, they even sculpted the hair and the beard, and they applied a wash to it so the hair and beard stands out even more, and I love the way that it looks. And they even painted some hair on his forearms here as well. But moving on to his chest here, you can see that they did paint or put on a tiger logo, and I think it looks really great, and I'm glad it turned out great because it is the main part of the figure that you'll be looking at when it's standing at a distance, and your eye immediately gets drawn to it, so I'm glad that came out perfectly. But moving on to his accessories, I think he comes with a carbine or carbine, depending on how you pronounce it, and I do like it. However, my only real complaint for this is the sling here. It's just really small and it looks impractical, and it really doesn't work for the figure. But moving on to his other accessories, you can see that he has storage for each of his additional accessories here. He comes with a combat knife here, which while it's a standard combat knife, I do think that looks pretty decent overall. And then he also comes with a flashlight here as well. And the flashlight does have its buttons on the side here, which I do appreciate the fact that they sculpted some flashlight buttons onto it. And of course, he also comes with his pistol here. His pistol, while I'm not too sure if it's supposed to be a makeshift design, it does give off that feeling of a makeshift pistol or maybe a pistol with added parts onto it. And I especially love the fact that there's some tape on the handle piece. The only real complaint I have for these accessories is that I wish they were painted. If they were painted, I think they would look a lot better. That also goes for the carbine as well. And last but not least for accessories, he also comes with a shovel or a spade that can attach onto his backpack here. However, my only real complaint about this is that it's not really painted as well. That also goes for the backpack. I wish the more the backpack was painted, I think it would look a lot better. But with that said, yeah, I think this figure is pretty solid. If you could find him at a Ross, I'd definitely say if you're interested in it, pick it up. It's not too bad of a figure, the accessories are pretty decent, and I especially love the head sculpt. Next up, we have the G.I. Joe Classified series, BBQ Kelly. And this is another figure that is a really good option for army building. So many Rosses that I go to just have a ton of these guys. And as you can see, I picked up 4 of them. So I'm definitely going to use them to army build. And it's another figure that just looks really cool. I really like the tactical look to him. And initially, I thought this was actually a flamethrower. But apparently, this is actually like a fire retardant. So that way he could fight fires. Which I think is actually pretty cool. I think it's really creative. It's really unique compared to most characters that would just be pyros. And I do like that he comes with his own little hatchet here. And also a full-blown axe that he could also use. And there's even storage for it as well. And there's even storage for his little like water gun here that you could put on the side here too. So yeah, overall, he's a really good option for army building. Especially because, at least in my area, I see him everywhere. Future figuristic here. And I just want to let you guys know that I've been finding a lot of Tiger Force Wakandos at my local Rosses for a pretty decent price so far. I originally got this figure at Target for a discounted price, but now he's popping up a lot at Ross. So maybe hit up your Ross and see if you can find him. Overall, I think he's a pretty decent figure. Up next, we'll be taking a look at Tiger Force Duke and the Rambike 2-pack. Starting off with Duke, you can see that he comes with the same primary firearm as Sergeant Stalker. And although I do like the design of this gun, I wish that Duke came with a unique gun. I think it would have added a little bit more diversity to the 2-pack. Duke also comes with a sidearm, which I also think could have came with a different design. It has a more sci-fi look to it, but I would have preferred a more modern weapon design. I think it would have worked a lot better with Duke's primary firearm. But continuing with the accessories, the figure also comes with binoculars that clip onto his belt here, and he also comes with a backpack piece with a shovel or a spade. However, sadly, it isn't removable like Outback's, and it is kind of disappointing that it isn't removable. And another suggestion that I would have made to make the figure maybe a little better is to maybe have his back piece as Sergeant Stalker's back piece to hold the weapon, because Duke is meant to ride on the motorcycle or the ram bike, and I think it would have worked a lot better if he had that storage piece instead of having his backpack with the unremovable shovel. Overall, I think that the figure's sculpt is pretty decent. The head sculpt is not too bad. It does look like Duke, and I wish that the hair had a little bit more of a wash onto it to bring the hair out more instead of it just being plastic, but for the most part, it looks pretty decent. And also, I like the tiger deco on his pants. Overall, the figure isn't anything too spectacular, but I do like it for what it is. And now taking a look at the ram bike, I have to say that overall, it's a very solid motorcycle. You can see here that, of course, the wheels spin, and you can even steer the front tire here. The handlebars are also movable, so you can position them in different ways if you want, or if you have your characters holding onto it, they can be easier to position. And it even comes with the kickstand that goes forward as well as all the way back. But the main draw point, at least for me, about the ram bike is its sculpt and paint. Starting off with paint, you can obviously see that they have a shark decal right here, as well as some decals of tiger stripes, and I think it would have been a little bit more fitting if maybe this looked more like a tiger. However, I do think that the shark decal is still very nice. In addition, they even put the Tiger Force logo on here, as well as the G.I. Joe logo, and I think it looks really good. Overall, the paint schemes and different decals are very nice, including this one right here, which appears to be a US flag. And I believe it might be backwards. It looks backwards to me. However, I do think that the scratched look to it does kind of lend a look to it as if this ram bike's been used several times. So eventually the decals start wearing off a bit. But going on with the rest of the paint for the figure, I think that's painted pretty decently. I don't think it's painted to its fullest extent, but I do think it's painted enough to look still good. For instance, obviously you can see the metal portionings right here, as well as the panels for the engines and the solid black for the engine as well. I really like this. I do think it could be colored a little bit more with maybe some dry brushing, but overall I think the sculpting is very good for it and the paint suits it. The same also goes for this side as well, with very little differences, and I believe that the engine piece is exactly the same on the other side as well, including the exhaust pipe. I actually like that they sculpted these, and of course you can also see inside the exhaust pipes, and I really appreciate that. Instead of just plugging it up, they're actually hollow pieces of plastic. So I think it makes it look a lot better. But continuing with the ram bike, we can't forget about the storage for the minigun. As you can see, there is a wheel for this section here, and the barrel of the minigun, while in the compartment, can still spin. And the compartment itself for the storage is detailed pretty good. You can even see that on the top here, where some of the storage is, it shows a little bit of the minigun, but it still shows some paneling and some wires. And even on the inside here, where this portion would be facing away from the outside into the motorbike, it's still detailed very well, and I appreciate the fact that they even colored it. My only gripe is the fact that they didn't really color the back here or add any detailing to it. Very little details. You could argue that there's these panelings here. However, I think that there could have been more detail put back here. But in general, this is very good, and of course, it fits in very well as well. As you can see, this piece here, or this portion, has the two holes for the respective pieces of the storage, and it plugs in very easily. And because of this third wheel, it is able to stand on its own now, so you can kick the stand off, and the ram bike will be able to stand on its own. And just as easily as it plugs in, it can also be taken out fairly easily as well. But moving on to the minigun portion here, especially the storage, I have already shown that the barrel can spin, but you can actually take it out of the compartment as well. It's fairly easy to. You just have to kind of grip it like this a little bit, and put in a little effort, and it snaps open very easily. You can see that they even textured a little bit of the inside with that metal paneling look. But onto the minigun itself, although I do wish that it was a different color other than just solid red, I do appreciate the fact that it actually has the Tiger Force logo there, and I think it came out looking very good. My only other real complaint about this is the fact that even though it does have very good sculpting, it's not painted very much, especially on these gears and different sections here. I think a little bit of paint, even if it was just some dark silver or gunmetal, I think would have made it actually look really good. But overall, even just as is, I think it's a pretty decent minigun, and in the hands of Duke, it looks pretty good. Overall, I think that the Ram bike is really cool, and while Duke isn't spectacular, he isn't the main selling point of this 2-pack, and the Ram bike is pretty solid in my opinion. Next up, we'll be taking a look at Crocmaster and Fiona. And yeah, this was an excellent find at Ross. I never expected to find this. And of course, as you can tell, I picked up an additional Fiona for 2 crocodiles. But moving into Crocmaster, I really love that he has the aesthetic of a crocodile wrangler, or a guy that handles a lot of crocodiles. As you can see here on his left arm here, he has a brace that's made out of reptile skin, and also, of course, his vest or chest is also made out of reptile skin, and I really love the texture on it. In addition, I really like the look of his belt with the crocodile eye, and I think it's really interesting that it's silver. Although I'm not sure if it'd be realistic for a belt to be completely silver like this. It's possible. Maybe I've just never really seen one before. But it kind of implies that it's leather based on the holes here, and also some of like the slings to keep the belt in place. But that's besides the point. But other than that, I really like the accessories that this guy comes with. Of course, you can see here that he comes with a knife that has its own holster. And I really appreciate the fact, too, that this knife's handle actually has reptile skin on it, and it is painted, so I think that's really nice. Another thing that I really like is the fact that he comes with, as you can see here, a meat hook and also a whip. I think the meat hook could have been painted to be brighter silver like the mouthpiece here, but I do really like the way it looks, and it looks menacing, and it's a huge meat hook. The whip is also cool, but I kind of wish it was a bendy wire whip. I think that would have made it a little bit cooler, but I still think that it does look pretty nice. And of course, he also comes with a sidearm here. And quick note, I really do like that it has a reptile skin for the handle here, although I wish it was painted. The pistol that he has is a Rhino style revolver, or at least that's what I know it as. But I really do like the look of this pistol, and it's unique because I don't have one of these in my arsenal for figures. As you can see too, it also comes with some baby crocodiles here. One that's a little bit more traditional for a baby croc. And this one right here seems to be more of an albino croc. But moving on to the crocodiles, or Fiona, I really love the fact that they gave her pretty good articulation. I like the fact that you can open her jaw. But I also like that they gave us other articulation as well. She could look up about this high and about this down low. And she has an additional joint at, I want to say about her stomach right here, where she could swivel a lot more, so you can move her in a lot more positions. I also really like that, although I wish there was more of a hinge on the arm here, I do really like the fact that you can actually splay her arms out a little bit more, so she can get in different positions. And also like the fact that you can actually rotate it all around, so you can change positions in case you want to show her off as running, or maybe just in the water, wading and swimming. One thing I also like is the fact that for her hands, they can actually pivot fairly decently as well too. And of course, there's a hinge to hinge it up and down. Although it's not too much, I do like that this was an inclusion. And the same goes for the back feet as well. The back feet also come with this. And also, of course, they can pivot. And I especially like the tail. I love that the tail for the articulation is a separate piece here. So you can rotate it a lot more. And of course, it can turn side to side as well. And I also love that it's a bendy wire tail. And while it's not a bendy wire all the way to the end here, once it goes to about right here, you can bend it. You just have to be kind of careful so you don't snap it. But even then, the bendy wire here does feel pretty sturdy, so I don't think it would snap very easily. But having a bendy wire tail was a very good choice. It looks really good. And also, of course, it keeps a pretty smooth shape in general, as long as you articulate it in the correct way, of course. And, of course, the tail can go up and also down. However, I will note that it shows some gappage here. So yeah, this was a very good find at Ross. I never expected to see this 2-pack there. So I'd say if you find it at your local Ross, definitely pick it up and pick up at least an additional one so you can have an extra croc for Crocmaster. Figuristic from the future here, I just wanted to include some things that I forgot to talk about for Crocmaster. First off, the back of his vest or his chest is actually sculpted like a back of a crocodile, which I think looks really awesome. I like that they sculpted that. Also, the straps for his gun holster, his knife holster, and also his boots is all reptile skin. I didn't really notice that until just earlier when I was about to put this figure away. I wish they had colored it so it was more apparent, but I do think that it's a really cool detail. And next up, we'll be looking at the Cobra Viper 3-pack. This is a pack that I never expected to find at my Ross. But looking at the figures, for the most part, all of the figures have the exact same sculpt, the only difference being color for the officers and the normal Vipers. As you could tell right off the bat, you could tell that the officer has a gold visor and the color scheme surrounds more of a gray and red. Meanwhile, the normal Vipers have a much darker blue, and the red is also a little bit darker, as well as silver visors and silver goggle lenses. But in all, I really love the look of all of these figures here. They all have a tactical look to them, and even though they do have pretty much the same sculpt, I think this does work in the sense of army building. So if you could find these at Ross and you could find multiple packs, I'd say pick them up so you can definitely have multiple of each. You can have at least 2 officers and you'll have at least 4 Cobra Vipers. And I think that works really well for people who want army build. But other than that, one thing that makes this pack stand out a lot in my opinion is the weapons and the effects that it comes with. I love that each character has their own holster and their own pistol, with the officer having his own unique pistol. And I really like the look of this pistol more than the others. I like that it has a more modern design to it. And one thing I like too is the fact that it actually has a skull painted on it, or at least sculpted on the handle. And I really didn't notice that the first time, so I really appreciate the amount of detail that went into it. On the other hand, for the Vipers, I think the more sci-fi look doesn't fit as well, and you can't port any effects to it, so I think that's a little bit of a letdown. However, the rest of the weapons that they came with are great. I love the more modern weapons. However, I do like the look of the more sci-fi weapons as well. I'm just more partial to the modern weapons. But I love the fact that they gave us so many effects to put with these figures and their weapons, because you have so many display options, and it just opens up so much to army building and different display options for other characters, and not limiting you to owning these characters here. So all in all, I'd say if you could find this pack at Ross, I'd say definitely pick up 1. If you're able to, 2. If you're feeling like it, pick up 3 or more, because these guys are amazing. And I think they'd make an excellent collection to anybody's haul. Figuristic from the future here, I just wanted to note that you can actually take the helmets off of each Viper as well as their arm guards. However, the arm guards are a little more difficult to remove, and it'll actually show that each of them have their own different skin tones. So you can put alternative heads on them, and it allows for even more display options. I think that's just something that makes these figures even better. And last but not least, we have Python Patrol B.A.T.S. These are figures that I never expected to find at Ross. I hardly see them on shelves at Targets and Walmarts, so of course, finding it at Ross was amazing, and it was completely shocking to me. But moving into the figure itself, I love the sculpt on this figure. You can see that they did extensive sculpting on the arms here, so you can see the mechanical workings on the arms and even on the hands as well, and it looks amazing. I love the rivets here for the knuckles. My only real complaint about this figure is that it didn't come with the accessories that the other versions of B.A.T.S came with. Comparing the accessory amount for the Python Patrol B.A.T.S to the standard bat or even the Crimson Bat, you can see that it is missing the battle damaged head and the battle damaged chest piece as well. Taking a quick look at this here, you can see that I do have alternative hands for this figure here, and the smoke effect came with a different figure. It actually came in the Cobra Viper 3-pack. A great pack, by the way. But right here, you can see that they actually have a damaged chest piece or exposed chest piece here with the inner workings with some wires and tubes. And although I'm glad the fact that we have this ability for bats that we could take off their chest pieces here, you see the chest piece, and I like that it's removable. However, I really don't understand the reason for not providing the same accessories on the other bats to the Python Patrol Bat, because I think I would have just made the figure even more amazing. I already love these bats for what they are, but I think including those accessories would have made them even better, because it just seems really odd when you compare the amount of accessories. And also, I love the fact that they come with different hands or different arm pieces. They have a flamethrower hand, and you also have one that's kind of more like a drill or a blaster, and another one that's like a crushing claw. And I love the look of this one, the mechanical workings of it. Oh man, it looks amazing. And the part I love the most is that you could store all of this in their backpacks. You can even see here that I did store some hands in different areas, and it looks so awesome, and it looks like they could just switch their hands out on the go for whatever occasion they need. So I'd say if you can ever find these at a Ross, I'd say definitely pick them up. They're great. And with that being said, those are my G.I. Joe Classified Series finds at Ross. I've been Figuristic Productions. I hope you enjoyed. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.